difficult is this job?
Well, look, guys, I mean, we have a great executive director. He takes care of the day-to-day. What I did with Patrick was to talk to him every Monday morning at 8:30. That was our scheduled call where we went over things. And for the most part, he takes care of things, and I review the agenda. And if there's something, another meeting that's needed, I attended. But to be honest, Patrick is running our COG and very well. So just something to consider.
I promise I don't bite. I try to keep everything to the minimum for everybody. So I won't ask too much out of you, just a couple phone calls every now and again and run a couple ideas past you. But it's been great working with John Sebastian, and I hope whoever gets the opportunity here is excited to do so.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for the nomination, but I'm not sure that I can fulfill this job as to how I would hope it to be filled. I'll stand. Two nominations.
John, did you withdraw your nomination? Is that what you said?
Yes, if Barbara's interested in being president, I would like to withdraw being nominated. Thank you very much, everybody, for the offer. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to help in whatever way I can.
Okay, so we have one nomination on the floor. Any others?
Move to close nominations.
Thank you, Marty. And with that being said, if it's okay with the board here, can we do a voice vote? All in favor? We don't
Are
do
we,
it.
are we voting on closing on nominations? Or are we voting on Barbara?
Voting on Barbara.
Let's
You
close.
should
No,
vote- you
let's
should
close
vote-
the motion
you have to
first,
clo-
and then
you have-
move on to
You have to close the
vote.
nominations.
And I
So I-
second.
Okay, now have a vote to close the nominations.
Right.
All those in favor of Barbara Carrier serving as president of the QB cog?
No, Patrick, we
No,
need to vote
closing the
on the
nomination.
closing of the nomination.
Voting on closing the nomination.
All those in favor of voting on closing the nominations, say aye.
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 All those not in favor, say nay. All right, carries unanimously.
Well, thank you.
Barbara, do you want to take over? as,
Now you have to.
No, we
now
need
you
to
have
vote.
Vote on Barbara.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Good try, Patrick.
That's the way
All
they
those
do it in Russia.
favor of Barbara Carrier serving as president of the QB cog for 2022, say aye.
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 Those that are not in favor, say nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Barbara,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, next up is Vice President Barbara.
Do you want me to take the meeting from now on? Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay. And I must apologize that my agenda was not printed very clearly. I'll take nominations from the floor for vice president.
I would like to nominate Julie Barnes from Sewickley.
Is there a second? I didn't hear a second.
Rick
I'll
Wagner
second
from
it.
Ben
I'll
Avon, he
second
seconded
it,
it.
Marty. Yeah, okay.
Oh, thank you, because I only have a slide view doing it from home. Thank you. So next I'll take, is there any more nominees for vice president?
Nominate Rick Wagner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have Julie Barnes and Rick Wagner. Are there any more? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for nominations to be closed.
Julie, if you I'm gonna speak, Julie, if you want to take it, I'm president of the Avon Council now, so I have a lot on my plate. I'm happy to do this. if need be. Thank you. But if you want to do it, I'm happy to bow out.
I would be happy to do it. I would like to be able to support Barbara. If there are
Thank you.
responsibilities, I'd be happy to split the responsibilities with Barbara so that it's, a little more equal. So she's not feeling like overwhelmed by it. That would be fine, yeah.
That is fine with me. There's-
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, sorry, this is Julie from Sewickley. I'll speak up, sorry. I would be happy to take on the role of vice president if the members would like me to. And I'd be happy to support Barbara in her role as president, because I understand that she has a lot on her plate. And I think we all do, but I will be happy to help her in that role as well.
Thank you.
I'll reject my nomination.
Okay, do we just have one nominee?
Yes,
Julie?
it appears that way. Mhm.
Okay, we have a vote, a vote to close to close nominations.
So
Make a
moved.
motion to close
Motion.
nominations.
Thank you. Thank you, Marty. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, nominations are closed. Shall we also vote for Julie? We don't, since we only have one, I don't think we need a private vote. So all those in favor of Julie Barnes being vice president of the COG signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Julie, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our last nomination for election of officers is the treasurer. I'll entertain any nominations at this time. Amy? Oh, I don't know. Sorry, Amy.
I'll nominate John Schwinn.
Paul Getz has nominated John Schwend.
Second,
Okay.
JS Falwell, I'll second that.
Are there any more nominations? Okay. I'll entertain them.
Motion to close nominations for treasurer.
Thank you,
Make a
Marty.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
You got that in before I could decline, Marty. Good job.
Ha, I knew you weren't going to leave us, John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion to close. Since John is our only nominee for the position of treasurer, I'll entertain a vote from the group by saying aye. All those in favor of John being treasurer, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. There you have your executive election of officers. Thank you all. Okay, next is the ominous. Patrick, do you want to take this? This is where my agenda is
Perfect.
smeared.
Yeah, so the omnibus motion is going to be minutes in our financial reports as well as bills payable for the upcoming month. So hopefully everyone had a chance to take a look at those materials in your meeting packet. More or less, you can see the year-to-date budget. Everything seems to check off pretty well. We have a handful of unpaid bills that we'll need to approve tonight. That's going to be in your packet. Let me just pull it up real quick. And we'll go over those. And so a couple advertisements we had in the local paper, as well as our monthly bill to Civic Mapper and our monthly rent to Killbuck Township and our credit card. So more or less, that's it. If anyone has any questions about those reports or minutes, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Any questions? Any questions? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the bills, pay the bills.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I assume that is everyone. Thank you. Anything else in here? I don't see anything else.
And next up is the executive director's report.
Okay, and that is your report.
So real quick, I just wanted to highlight that our 2022 managers and secretary meetings will be moving to a permanent location at the Emsworth Borough Building. So that will happen on the fourth Wednesday of each month at 10 o'clock. So we moved the time from 9 to 10. Just trying to be a little more catering for our managers. That seemed to be a consensus pick for the time and the meeting location. So we'll be starting that next week. As we'll note shortly here, the Route 65 final study and analysis will be next Wednesday at the Sewickley Public Library, 7 p.m. So we're going to get a small sample size of that tonight, but the overall presentation is going to be next Wednesday. It's going to be hybrid, so it's open to the public in person or over Zoom. If you do register over Zoom, you have to register ahead of time. So just keep that in mind. Also, the recycling performance grant. So last month in December, we submitted a recycling performance grant through the DEP on behalf of 14 member communities. Really excited to report that we increased our commercial tonnage by 68%. So we haven't received the payment or the report from the DEP quite yet, but just comparing year over year, there was a big jump that we were able to report, and we're only going to see that go up, I hope. So we're going to get down in the weeds and really start, getting the commercial tonnage from our local businesses. Also, 2022 contact info for those municipalities that haven't. Anyone that's a new official or a new delegate, I ask that you just relay email addresses and phone numbers over to me. I'll put that in our system so we'll be able to reach out to our new elected officials in the area. Also, our website got a reboot over the holidays, so I just cleaned it up a little bit, made it a little more user-friendly, I think. So if everyone would take a look at that, I'd really appreciate it. Any feedback is welcome. We also submitted a internship application through the Local Government Academy for basically a community relations intern. It's going to work with all 15 towns to make sure that the QBCOG is serving all of our members to the best of our abilities. And last but not least, something we'll also dive into a bit is glass recycling. We're looking for our first pilot location for a 20-yard glass dumpster through Cap Glass. And more or less, we need as many applicants and locations and a little detailed description of that location. So next month we can come to the board and figure out where we're going to have this site for 2022. So again, anyone that's interested or thinks their community would be interested in this is asked to reach out to me and just give me the details on that site. With that being said, that's all I have.
Patrick, a question about that. Do I understand it's just going to be one site for the whole COG, or is it going to move around to different places?
The idea is one site to start off with and make sure that it works out well. Everything goes smoothly as far as collection and everyone following the rules. And then, in the long term, 6 to 12 months from now, we expand that one site to 2 sites. But right now, we're just looking for one site to serve the whole COG. That's correct.
Thank you.
Do we know if we have any yet?
No one has submitted a formal request. I'm looking for something on letterhead, just kind of committing the borough or township that's willing to do this with a location, and then just a couple sentences describing the location, why it would work, accessibility, lighting, whether it's monitored by Public Works or police. No one has quite yet, but I think a lot of people are just getting their new boards settled in. So I'm hoping by the beginning of next month at the latest, we get a handful of locations. But again, that's why I'm bringing it up. If any of your towns, anyone on the call or anyone in person thinks that they would be willing to do this, I'd really appreciate that nomination.
Hey, Patrick, have you shared with the managers what it entails for the town? You talked about the lighting, and are they aware of what you're looking for?
Yeah, so I've met in person and over the phone with half dozen of our members, the ones that have expressed interest in the past or that might be good fits. And the feedback was more or less, it was December that I spoke with them, that a lot of these new boards were transitioning and there might have been favorability one way or the other waiting. So I've waited and haven't quite gotten anything yet, but that's where we're at.
I have one
Hi,
more.
Patrick. This is Roberta from Avalon. And yes, I'm new to the whole circus. And we did talk about it in one of our committee meetings, and we may be interested in it. I just have to compile some notes and questions that we had to ask you. So because I think it's going to be great for all of us to have a permanent site. So hopefully we'll be able to help.
Great, I appreciate that.
This is Julie from Sewickley. Does anyone have thoughts about putting a time restrictions on it. Like, for example, one of the locations that we're considering in Sewickley, which we ran into a snag with our location because I had suggested a location to our council, and then we discovered as we were discussing it, that it was not our property. It was the property of the railroad.
Yeah.
So we would just move it like just 100 yards away. I mean, it would still be very close, but there are some residents nearby. So I was thinking maybe we could put signage up that said that you could only put your glass in there until 8 PM or something like that. How does everyone feel about putting time limits on it? I mean, obviously you can't really enforce it. It would just be, people would have to be, you know, honoring the sign if they, out of the kindness of their hearts.
Seems reasonable.
Right. Is there anybody to monitor the time limits? I mean, I guess.
No, it would really be like a suggestion that we would hope people would honor once they saw the sign. And then, of course, there would be people who would not honor it, but in general, I think it could keep it's because it's very loud.
Yes, I think it's a good idea personally to put a time limit on it.
Yeah, and these are all things that, you know, those that do put their nominations forward for their municipalities and in that, like, you know, correspondence, if they could outline requests like that. And
Okay,
then we'll bring that to the board next month or maybe March at the latest to sort of, you know, the 5 or 6 towns that might be willing to do it might have different parameters, and that's something we can figure out for that first location. Maybe those parameters are more beneficial one way or the other.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into that towards the end of the meeting on
Okay.
that specific item.
Okay, great. Anything else, Patrick?
That's all I have.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Route 65 presentation.
Yep, I will stop sharing my screen, Peter, if you want to take over your screen and kick off the presentation.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So it says that host has disabled screen sharing. So you
Let me
may
go
have to
ahead
give me
and- There you go.
some special.
away.
Excellent, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you everyone for inviting us here this afternoon and share with you guys, you know, what has come out, what's basically the culmination of this year-long study. This has been a really great project in that it's about thinking, you know, what should Route 65 actually be in order to be more in keeping and helping the community. And with me, I have Stephen Quigg and Ray Castile, both of them from Remaking City Institute from Carnegie Mellon. You know, it has been a group effort along with COG, trying to like come up with this idea of, you know, in a wonderful world, what are some of the things, some of the little toolkits that we can do to make Route 65 actually behave better and be more of a neighborly road that will contribute to our local municipality. So I believe you folks can see my screen there. And I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to the next slide. In 2017, the COG, you know, QB COG identified it as the boulevard with the greatest community connecting feature for the whole entire area. I mean, imagine all the people, and I always like to call it, you know, eyeballs with wallet, you know, all those people that are transiting on Route 65 and going north-south. But imagine if we're able to just get a sliver of those people to stop in each one of our communities and buy coffee or buy grocery or buy anything else. I mean, that's a great economic impact. So that's one of the things that we're thinking about. But not only that, of course, is, you know, what are the benefits specifically for the community and making it a much better place? So this is phase 2. What we're showing you now is basically like a short version of the phase 2. Phase 1 was actually one that was done in the past. That was Remaking City Institute, COG, and Beaver County COG. And that was also a research process that was conducted back in 2019.
Right on your driving.
And like I was
Oops,
saying, you know,
sorry,
this is where we
hang
are.
on.
This is where we are at now, which is the strategic design guide. This is one that we just finished,
All
and like
right,
I said,
sorry about
we
that.
have
Set an alarm to watch this, get on this Zoom call, but I'm just, I've got it on. and I'm
Patrick, could you mute
muted
them for
and
a
no
second?
video, just kind of wait until
Yeah,
they
I'm-
discuss the glass recycling.
Trying to
So you
find it
hadn't
with-
home from work?
Oh, no.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Patrick. So yeah, so now we are at this point where we just want to give you a quick preview of what it is that we have come up with. And mind this, the way we looked at it is not specific to the whole to a specific area within Route 65, but instead we started looking at some case studies. And in this case, we looked at Emsworth and Ambridge. That gives us an idea of what are some of the elements that you can find throughout the Hohenzollern corridor. And we looked at it from the spectacle of four different main pieces. One of them was the governance, which is creating this model for inter-municipal coordination, and Stephen will speak to about that in a bit. The other one is economic growth, which is kind of like what I already mentioned to you. You know, having all those eyeballs with wallets, being able to get some of them to pull out and come to our community and do purchasing some goods within our community. You also have very important community design, which is creating a better quality of life for all the residents that are there that are also interacting with the Route 65. And of course, you know, Route 65 used to be a really big corridor for public transportation back in the days when we had a streetcar that would go all the way to Emsworth. But obviously that has changed, but the need is still there of having transportation that is very safe for everybody who needs transportation. So the idea was we looked at these areas, we kind of created this X-ray visions of the specific corners, intersections, and things from these two different communities. And we were trying to figure out what are some of the tools that you could almost implement in different places that have similar conditions as these places that we looked at in this two community of yours. Then we started looking at it from the engineering perspective, which is, okay, what are the requirements in terms of turning radius, you know, what is allowed and what's not allowed. And then from there, we created this tool matrix, which I will speak to in a second. I'm first going to talk a little bit in brief about the outcomes. And so some of these things are actually, you know, they're very, very easy, and some of them are slightly harder. And of course, this is a state road, so that means that a lot of these are going to be hard. But nevertheless, you know, a proper travel lane actually is about 11-foot travel lanes. And in the case of Route 65, it actually has been engineered more of a highway type of road, which means that each lanes are much wider than 11-foot travel lane. If you were to cut it out and bring it down to 11-foot travel lane in each direction, you get that extra space. You could do a couple of things. One is do, like we're showing you here, is do a green buffer on the right side, which buffers everybody who's doing the sidewalk. Lowering the width of the travel lanes actually reduces the speed, and that has been, you know, that's one of the things that engineering it's always done. The second one is getting that green space rather than putting it on the along the pedestrian, put it in the median, and you are able to create this really nice street calming beautification along the corridor in the middle of the two travel lanes. So kind of like a nice big green buffer in the middle. The third one is you straighten out the intersections. You know, you have a lot of interesting intersections with incredible angles that some of them are actually very problematic for people who are trying to get into Route 65 or getting out of Route 65, make you right or left into the neighborhood. So how do you clear out some of those intersections? And this graphic is showing you one example. The next one is, which is very important, is reducing the curb cuts. That is actually what they call the confluence. And the less curb cuts you have, means traffic actually ends up flowing better, but also it's better for pedestrians to be able to have a continuous sidewalk for them to walk without having to look out and playing Frogger with the cars trying to get into every single shop along the road. So that's another one example tool that we looked at. Reducing conflict on arterial and flow traffic on local streets. And by that, we mean by actually creating some directional, and this was an example of Ambridge, which it's kind of there already. It's actually, how do you make it so that it's a one-way, one direction, one-way, the other direction, but you formalize it so that it makes sense in creating an actual turning loop. The controlled movements and the intersections are very, very important and critical, because the wider the intersection you have, the better it is for trucks for them to make their turns, but the worse it is for pedestrians to cross, because that is an extra an extra, 3 or 4 seconds that a pedestrian is literally on the pavement, that actually means longer time for a pedestrian to be for possibility of issues with cars. But not only that, but somebody who's an older or cannot walk or is in a wheelchair, it actually means more time that they're going to be spending on trying to make this crossing of the streets. Safer transition of different type of speeds. Route 65, it's actually engineered to be a very high speed, but a lot of the roads that are perpendicular, that kind of dead end on Route 65, they are not actually fast speeds. And so you want to be able to make sure that drivers slow down before they make those right turn into your neighborhood. And so those are some of the outcomes that we looked at. Wayfinding, community pride, identity, it's another thing that we looked at. And of course, safer crosswalks, especially being able to connect the wayfinding with a safer crosswalk, you actually end up, in a way, creating a gateway to your community. So some of these things actually that connect with each other very, very well. And of course, prioritizing investment and preparing for supportive policy to allow for the economic growth in some areas, specifically areas that are along Route 65, that have a lot of eyes on those specific areas. And then there are other applications, and we also looked at, for example, creating pocket turns, enhanced gateways, designated pedestrian space whenever that's possible along Route 65. There are some areas that, for example, in Enbridge, that that it's kind of difficult to imagine a person walking next to Route 65, but then there are other places like in Emsworth that you could imagine a pedestrian walking there, because I did it and there's a sidewalk. It's just that it's actually very dangerous, and it does feel quite dangerous. This is a road, it's a state road. And like I said, earlier, these are like little toolkits that you can use, and you could almost get kind of like Lego pieces that actually they connect in different places. It could connect to other different communities that have similar characteristics. But the one thing that we wanted to look at is, within the PennDOT right-of-way, what are some of the things that you can do? And beyond the PennDOT right-of-way, what are some of the things that you can do? So we came up with this decision guide in a way that is almost like a flow chart, like a computer flow chart, that kind of gives you an idea of what some of the things that you could possibly start doing, and just a way to understand some of the tools and how you could implement some of the tools in your community. In Emsworth, like I mentioned earlier, transportation, we did look at how do we narrow the traffic travel lanes, how do we create protected turns? That was one of the issues that we heard time and time again, and advanced signage so that people know what to expect before they get into Emsworth and what they're going to find within Emsworth. At green space, consistent signage and art, and extending curbs and crosswalks so that it's easier for pedestrians to actually cross Route 65. Especially because in Emsworth, of course, you do have this road that is bisecting the community in a way. Improve access and visibility for the cars and on foot, and updating the zoning. There's a lot of areas around Route 65 that you can see the zoning that, it's very chaotic, if you will, I guess, but it's not very cohesive, but also it also allows for some things like single family housing, which in some cases works great, but in other cases it doesn't work great because they're literally facing a highway, which is what Route 65 behaves at the moment. And then, of course, within governance, we looked at what are some of the things that could be in order to share maintenance costs. A lot of this toolkits that we're talking about, which is creating landscaping, who's going to be paying for the maintenance and all that. So we looked at the maintenance costs and also the standards that you can do in order to widen the design of this place. And I think I want to now pass it over to Steve to talk a little bit about shared governance.
Sure. One of the things that PennDOT had asked us to look at was how could the COGs, both Quaker Valley and Beaver Cog, begin to work as one with them rather than dealing with 19 separate communities. This study looked all the way from Bellevue all the way out to East Rochester before you go over the bridge, the Beaver, so involving 19 communities. And so how do 19 separate municipalities begin to work together? And this was one of the things that PennDOT asked us to particularly look at so that they could work more easily with all of you. And our research showed that there is a a regulation that's in the state coffers that allows you as separate communities to band together as a governmental, quasi-governmental body for particular projects. And it gives you the ability, and our recommendation was that the two COGs would be the administrators of that, working with the individual communities, but you would all work as one team to work with PennDOT going forward with any kind of planning for the corridor. And the outcome of this was our recommendations were that PennDOT undertake a master plan for the corridor from Bellevue out to Rochester, East Rochester. And what the guidelines that we developed out of this are the basis or the basics there for you to all decide amongst yourselves, which is important to you. What we heard from Ambridge and also from Emsworth was we want to beautify and make the corridor safer. And so the planting of trees and landscaping were very important, as well as how do we begin to make everyone safe to drive on the corridor itself. So there are mechanisms that are available to you. It's important, though, that and our recommendation was that the COGs be the administrators of this and be the leaders to bring all of these 19 disparate communities together. It will take you to make the request to PennDOT and PennDOT Connects in particular, because they would be the ones to fund the master plan. But it takes your initiative to do that.
Great. Thank you. Actually, I forgot to switch over to the next slide. Yeah, so thank you so much. So again, this was a quick little view into what our final presentation is. Of course, a final presentation, we're going to have a lot more time. We'll be able to go into more detail, all the different tools and things. But there's a full report that's already online, as you can see there. There's the link, and I'm sure Patrick could probably share with anybody who has who would like to find out more on the final presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So Barb, if you give me, and Patrick, if you give me 1 second, again, I'd like to thank Susan Arkenberry for working on this report and the funding for all those years, Steve Quick and the team at CMU, incredible. And again, Michael Baker for the material that they put together. It's just so appealing to the eye. You look at it, you get the sense of what could be the corridor. So again, I'd like to thank you guys for all this work. It wasn't easy, but the end result is wonderful. So again, it's up to the board at this point, like Steve said, that we turn those ideas into projects. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one quick reminder for everyone, the final presentation, right? The totality of this will be discussed at the Sewickley Library next Wednesday, 7 p.m. in person or on Zoom. So feel free to attend if you are interested in this further.
So Patrick, is it, if you want to attend by Zoom, are you sending out a Zoom link, or is the library sending out a Zoom link?
So the Zoom link's on the website, our qvcog.org website, but I'd be happy to send that to the board as well. So if you just go to our homepage, there'll be a headline that says Route 65 presentation. Click on that, has the whole entire presentation that was referenced here, as well as the registration link on Zoom. So you can do that, or I'll also send something out tomorrow morning with the link if you guys would like.
I would appreciate that, Patrick. Okay, any other questions? I mean, I'm very much looking forward to this presentation at the library. I've been part of this with Susan Hockenberry, and thank you, John, for mentioning her and giving her the accolades she deserves for taking on this project. So thank you. Any other questions or anything else from any of the members? And considering everybody's mute, I would like to thank you all. It is a beautiful presentation and well done.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is, and I assume, Patrick, this is a discussion?
Yeah. Yep. So I'll scroll down to the agenda item. So this was brought to my attention from Gwen Patterson, who's the manager of Aleppo Township. The PA district for the House and the Senate redistricting proposals. So no one formally asked me to do anything one way or the other, but I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention that these discussions are ongoing. So Article 2, Section 17 of the PA Constitution provides a legislative reapportionment commission to redistrict both chambers, the state and the House, in the year following the federal census. So the commission consists of 5 members, the caucus floor leaders, and deputies appointed by each of them, and a chairman selected by those members if they cannot reach agreement. By the House and Supreme Court, the QVCOG represents 15 municipalities, which themselves are represented currently by 4 PA House districts and 2 Senate districts. Under the newest redistricting proposal, the QVCOG would be split between 3 PA House districts and remain in 2 PA Senate districts. So I broke down what the current situation in the House is as far as which towns are represented by which senators and representatives, and what the proposal is. So one thing that Gwen, so the commission has a scheduled series of hybrid public hearings during the month of January to gather feedback. I presented the website if you guys want to delve into it a little more. But one thing that was forwarded to me, this is from State Representative Gatos, which has been signed by a handful of other representatives in the COG, just expressing their opinions on the redistricting proposal before the House. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone had this. This is in your packets. If you wanted to dive in it a little more, there's a website link here. And it basically illustrates the maps, current and what's proposed. And again, it's something that, you know, we're already, the COG as a whole is separated by a bunch of different districts. This just shuffles that around a bit more from our perspective.
Does it just, yeah, quick question, does it shuffle it around or are we losing representation here? I'm having, it seems like there's more municipalities clustered.
I mean, from my standpoint, we go from 4 to 3, so it looks like we're declustering in the House, at least, from the COG's whole 15-town perspective. Now, I guess there's definitely strong opinions one way or the other for some of our towns, so I don't want to speak for them, but I just wanted to give this information to everyone for their knowledge.
Patrick, this is Bob. Was there an objective to doing this? I kind of don't know why the change has been suggested.
Every 10 years it happens, so it's
I got
there's
it.
different committees every 10 years to put these maps together.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it and make sure that everyone had the letter that was sent from a lot of our delegates and representatives. So
it's really a census kind of thing. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Got it.
And they
Hey,
tried,
Patrick, Representative Gatos came to our council meeting this past Monday to speak on the same subject. She went into some detail about everything, but she is working as best she can to keep the QVCOG communities together moving forward. Her thoughts on this matter are that it's probably going to go into litigation and it's going to be quite a while before this is settled. But she is working to keep all the COG communities together along with MOVE.
okay, thank you. Thank you. Anything else from anybody else? I do know that Glenn Osborne has decided to, if you have any objections to do this, to do it as individual rather than the municipality. But I'll certainly entertain any discussion by any of our delegates.
yeah, Marty, he raised his hand in this meeting. I apologize if anyone else
Yeah,
has done
I
it. I've
can't
never done
see it.
that before. So Marty, if you want to go ahead and take the floor here.
Is he muted?
You might be muted. Marty, if you're muted, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, there. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to say that, first of all, I think, is anybody here from Bell Acres on tonight?
No.
No, I don't think this, Patrick, I think that District 16 under current, I think I'm 100% sure that Bell Acres and Leechdale are in with District 16, Matsy now. And
Yes.
I don't,
I know Leedsdale are.
and Bell Acres too.
Mhm.
Anyway, okay, but that's a minor point. Yeah, I think that Valerie Gatos is trying to get Quaker Valley School District in her district, not Quaker Valley COG. Okay, not, I don't think she's pushing for, because she has 8 of them now, and now they're trying to put, they want to put, split it more and put, I think she has 8 of them, 8 out of Quaker Valley School District, not COG, and 3 are in with Matsy, and now they want to split, they want to take Leechdale and Bell Acres and Swickley Hills and Swickley Heights, and they want to put us to the North Hills area, who is now Representative McCurry, Rob McCurry, and he's got like Marshall and McCandless and Franklin Park. So, and then the other 6 from Quaker Valley School District would go with Gatos, and she'd like them all. Now, I don't know about the North boroughs, but that's what I know about it. And the whole idea is partisan. The Democrats want to draw the district, so they lean Democrats. The Republicans want to, it's a partisan thing, and it's going to go to court probably because the governor's probably going to veto it or whatever. But
Okay,
it goes
Martin,
to-
this is Bob Ryan.
Right.
You think it's a political thing?
Oh, yeah, it's a total political thing. If you follow it in the paper, the Republican legislators who control the House and the Senate, they want the districts to be mostly leaning Republican. And the governor, Wolf, who's a Democrat, he doesn't want it that. So he's probably going to veto it.
Yeah,
And
he'll not sign off on it, right?
Right. And it'll go to the Commonwealth Court, and then the judges will decide it. And each district has to be about 64,000 people, 63, 65. So the whole problem is if you move all of Quaker Valley COG into one district, then that affects somebody else. It's like a domino, it's going to affect. So
Has anyone looked at the population numbers?
Yes, they do look at the population
yeah,
numbers.
it has to be about 64,000 people in the district.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And they also try to balance it on party, and they try to balance it on racial lines and Democrat and Republican. They try to get it as balanced as possible. But it's almost an impossibility to make it very,
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That's what I
Martin, for
know
that
about it. That's what I know
explanation.
about it.
Thank you.
And just so everyone knows, all this information and the maps where you can visually see what the proposals are and the population density and registration, all that's on this link within this memo. So if you guys are really interested in it, I encourage you to check that out. I just wanted this to be educational and let you know that there's an opportunity out there if you do have an opinion one way or the other to voice that opinion.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Let's move on. If there's no further questions, we can move on to the approval of resolution for CDBG year 48 administration contract. Patrick,
So,
do you have any comment?
Annually, the QVCOG submits an application to the Allegheny County Economic Development Department in order to receive funding for the administration of the CDBG program for its participating municipal members. So part of that application process is the approval of a concurring resolution, which is attached in the packets, which will need to be formally approved by the board of directors. So for the 2022-2023 year, which is listed as CD 48, the QVCOG is seeking $55,800 in administrative costs. So no change from last year, same amount. Here's the resolution, and it'll just need signed if approved.
Okay, I'll take a nomination from the delegates to approve the resolution.
Joseph also move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in, this is resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it's passed. Anything else you want to say about this, Patrick?
Nope, I'll go ahead and send this to you, Barbara, for your signature via DocuSign. So keep an eye out for
Okay.
that next bit.
Okay, thank you. Item D, and I have to say that it is erased on my agenda, so, there it is. Okay,
Okay, so this is a late arriving item to the packets and the agendas. I sent it out via email yesterday. So just a quick highlight. Per section 3172B of the PA Act 77 of 1993, contributions to councils of governments beginning in the second full calendar year in which disbursements are received from the state treasurer under section 3157B, and each year thereafter, municipalities other than the county and the city of Pittsburgh shall contribute an amount equal to at least 25% of the increase in the amount of sales tax from each prior calendar year to entities and organizations created pursuant to the Act, July 12, 1972, referred to as the Intergovernmental Cooperation Law, including councils of governments. These contributions made pursuant to this section shall not be used to offset or reduce other contributions made to COGS or other intergovernmental entities or organizations. So what does that all mean? The QBCOG has received the 2021 Regional Asset District RAD sales tax numbers from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the amounts calculated for receipt by each member municipality fluctuate based upon a formula comprised of sales tax collection and assessed value for the municipality. This fluctuation proved evident over the last 24 months for all QBCOG member communities across the board. Pursuant to the aforementioned enabling legislation, municipalities are dedicated 25% of the increase in RAD from each year to an organization organized under the Intergovernmental Cooperation Act, i.e. the QBCOG. This formula allocates 30%, the COGS formula, 30% of the collected amount towards the COG general operating expenses, with 70% remaining being allocated towards the capital project fund. The QB board established this policy of defining capital as projects of over $5,000 with a useful life of 5 years or more. This fund will be used for shared programming technology, such as our Meeting Owl Glass Recycling Center in the future and other future initiatives. 2020 saw a precipitous drop in RAD revenues for all QBCOG communities, resulting in very little RAD revenue for the COG. We got less than $300 total. 2021 RAD revenues have outpaced pre-pandemic rates, 2019 and before. There's no indication that 2022 rates will be such an outlier with abnormally high or lower collection rates. It is anticipated that a modest yet consistent increase for RAD revenues will occur moving forward in 2022 and beyond. In a brief history is below here. So as you see, in 2018, we collected a tick below $15,000. $5,000 of that went to general operating expenses. A little bit less than $10,000 went to the capital reserve. 2019, we got a little bit less than 14. 5,000 went to the general operating. A little bit less than 9,000 went to capital. 2020, we got $263. And that's directly tied to the pandemic. People weren't shopping as much. Sales tax went way down for all of our member municipalities. And not just that, but the whole state and the whole country. 2021 is based off of 2020 rates. So there's a huge uptick, obviously, because you went from a big dip to a big surplus. So we collect, we're anticipating to collect $38,763.82 with $11,629 going to general operating, making up for last year, and the remaining 27 going to capital. So in the next couple of weeks, your offices will be seeing bills for the RAD revenues. This isn't anything new. It's just the amount's going to be a little offsetting, I'm sure. But you guys got a lot more money than you would have in a usual year. So that's just 25% gets shifted to the COG. And again, that's nothing new. That's an act from the state. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that and explain why the increase is so much more than a usual year.
okay.
And here's the breakdown, if anyone's interested. Breaks down the sales tax collection from each municipality by month of 2021. And the breakdown 2019, 2020, and 2021. Yeah, the overall bill and the portion that's going to operating and capital. So again, if anyone has specific questions for your specific municipalities, I'll direct you to there first. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so just quickly, so I did ask Patrick to put this, fabulous document together because again, in the past, municipalities see a bill like this and they're like, what is this? It is shocking, surprising, especially since last year we didn't have this. So if you see this bill and you need to explain this to your board, please use this letter and consult it. If you don't understand the details, maybe talk to Patrick to get the clarification. But again, this money is important for the COG. This is what we count on to make sure that the budget works. So, yep.
Okay, thank you, John Sebastian. Any other discussion?
This is Julie from Sewickley. Could you share that with the borough managers?
Yeah. So I'll be sending a letter with the invoice, and I'll send these breakdowns too, just so everyone realizes everyone's in the same boat. It's not like I'm singling anyone out. Some of these numbers are huge. There's definitely a big increase, but it's just the way the cycle worked, and I'm sure once in a lifetime pandemic, no one expected that. So that's really what shifted all these numbers the way they went. But yeah, probably in the next week, each municipality will get this invoice and an explanation.
But over a 10-year period, there's really no change.
Yeah, so if you look at
It
the
appears.
numbers from 19, which is the last quote unquote normal year to 2021 collections,
Right.
there's an uptick, there's no doubt, but it's not like a drastic uptick. Each one of these towns, you'll see anywhere from a 10 to 12% increase. Some cases a little less, some a little more, but it's just that big dip and the roller coaster goes right back up.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Next on our agenda is the glass recycling discussion. I think we talked about that earlier. Anything else anybody else would like to add?
Just real quick, I wanted to just go over this attachment. So, right directly, I had a discussion with Sustainable Sewickley today and PRC today, and just trying to formulate a game plan, right? So it's not necessarily just about starting this whole process, it's about sustaining it. So first we need to find a location, that works for the COG for this pilot program, this first dumpster, right? And then we need to figure out a way to fund it, not just day one, but day 1001. So I came up with this attachment. It's been in the last two packets based off the 2020 census, breaks down by, sort of similar to your due structures, anywhere from $20 to $70 a month for participating municipalities, totally based on population. And that cost breakdown is in the packet. So last year we had 5 or 6 pop-up glass events. Those events themselves cost $750 for 4 days. No one municipality in this is going to pay under this projection more than $750 for the entire year. So as opposed to 4 days of glass recycling, you get 365 days of glass recycling. And it's not going to cost any more than that 4-day event. So I wanted to make this as fair and equitable as possible. So once we get that location established, I can start going door to door, office to office, and explain this to all of our members so they can sell it to their boards. And I'd love to get this set up and started by March or April, especially when the weather turns. So again, please, if you think your town would be a good fit, please ask the board to consider volunteering as a location. And it's a brief little summary of why that location would be a good fit. So I'll take those through February 1st here it says, but if it comes in later, that's fine.
That's a question. So we're doing this kind of, let's see, reactively, right? Did the COG identify certain locations that would be a good fit? Why aren't we saying, hey, Ben Avon, we have 2 spots here, would you be willing to host it? Why are we, it seems like we're saying, hey, tell us if you want to have it, as opposed to us saying, hey, here's a good spot, will you have it?
I was hoping that the municipalities that are members would be jumping at it, right? And I think the easy sales pitch for those boards is you can be the host and your residents drive no more than 2 or 3 minutes, as opposed to those that might need to drive 15 minutes, or a little more. So there might be the best location in the world, but if that municipality is not going to volunteer, I can't make them. You know what I mean?
Patrick, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Marty.
Kind of as devil's advocate. I had a lot of glass here recently. We had a couple things here, and it was after the last glass recycling, wherever that was. So I had about 3 boxes of glass, and I took it to Neville Island, which
Mhm.
wasn't that far to waste management. I mean, there are people that can go from Aleppo or from Glen Osborne or from Swickley, or that's not that far to take it to Neville Island, to Waste Management's glass. So could people comment on that for me? I mean, does that seem like a crazy idea not to do this and, and, and take it over there? Or
Do we
just-
know
or
that the
go-
glass collected there is actually recycled?
It's the Waste Management glass recycling, where you take it to
Okay.
Waste Management Recycling Center. You look it up you take it to there on Grand Avenue there. But that's where all our recycling goes, and they have glass there. But
I'm sorry, Martin, if I could speak up from Avalon here.
yeah,
I pretty much know everyone in Bellevue on their council and very active in our moms groups and PTO and help run our farmers market over here. And I know for a fact that having one nearby and accessible is considered a community asset between all my friends and family. That I can tell you that I had a couple boxes of glass here too, and they didn't go to Waste Management. I mean, they did, but in a garbage can. I know that my two communities would view it as something, an asset, just like a park or a playground.
right. Well, I would say, yeah, that's great if it's in Bellevue where you can go there, but it's not a heck of a lot more convenient for me way down by Leetsdale to drive it to Bellevue, or, I mean.
Right.
Kind of.
And we talked about that in our meeting too, like,
Right.
would you guys come clear down here?
Right,
Because I wouldn't want to go up to Swickley or,
Right.
to Leetsdale.
right.
And hopefully we could have one on each end of our cog, I guess would be.
Well, that's
ideal.
right. That's
So
kind of the point I was
so
trying
that's
to make.
definitely so Marty, to sort of address that's definitely the goal. And I don't know which way, north end, south end, right in the middle, where our first location is going to be. But my sales pitch and what I'm going to, work to do is sell. If everyone's serious about this, and it's an issue that I've heard across the board before me, and it'll probably be after me too. But everyone wants to address this recycling issue for glass. And it might take 3 or 4 or 5 months of it being an inconvenience for communities A, B, C, and D to drive a little farther
Yeah.
to get this off the ground.
Well,
Once
that's
it's
what I
off
was
the-
saying. If
Yeah.
it's in one end of the community, if it's way down in Leetsdale, if I was in the middle of the community or up by Bellevue, and I want to get I wouldn't drive all the way to Leetsdale. I could take it over Neville Island. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
point.
and totally understand
Indiana,
that, but
right.
it's
In
one
the
of the
interim.
things that, once we can prove that this works, people aren't abusing the system, everyone's paying, it works, it's a smooth operation. That's when we bring in the second dumpster to sort of allocate, to make it more convenient for whatever side doesn't get it, right? Or if it's in the middle, it goes to one or the end or the other. So it's gonna be a pilot program, right? And there's no commitment from us with Michael Brothers hauling that this is a complete disaster. We've fallen on our face. Well, we'll get back up, but we can pull the plug on it for a while and then reevaluate. So it's gonna take some buy-in, and it's one of those things where, no, it's not gonna be as convenient for everybody, but that's the name of cooperation. And once we get off the ground, and once we can show that it works, then it's gonna be a lot more convenient when we get that second location or third location, or whatever this grows it to be. But it's gonna be a tough sell, and I'm gonna do my best to do it. And then the COG might need to put a little more funding to get off the ground than what I was projecting there. But I'm hoping that everyone can go to their boards that's on this meeting and say what the vision is and what the reason is whenever we pick community A or community B.
What's the downside of those pop-up things you did for a week here and a week there? What's the downside of that?
Downside is Aleppo Township and Bellevue and Swickley and whoever else participated paid $750 for 4 days of access, as opposed to telling their residents they can take it to 123 Candy Cane Lane and wherever 365 days a year. So not that they were bad events. I think it's great. Made people feel really good. Got some glass off the street and got recycled. But that's not a sustainable vision, and that's not what we want to do moving forward.
So the COG didn't fund those things.
Individual municipalities volunteer to pay.
I see.
Hey, Patrick, I have a quick question. I should know the answer to this, but would that count as something we submit for the grant, the money that you collected? So again, you bring it somewhere else, that's fine, it's convenient for you, but that's money that we don't get back in the cog to plan new initiatives, just to bring up that point.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I sort of see this as a microcosm, right? We had a great presentation from our friends at Michael Brothers and, or not Michael Brothers, Michael Baker Institute and Remaking Cities Institute. And it's a lot of cooperation, right? 19 towns all need to work together. And if we can't get 15 towns to work together for a glass recycling bin, what are the odds we get 19 towns in 2 counties to work together for Route 65? So this is an opportunity for us to show that we can all row in the same direction, pay $50 a month or $20 a month, whatever it might be, and do something great for our residents. So that's the goal.
And I think too, with the permanent places, then people will be more free to save their glass rather than say, oh, you know, it's 3 months until the glass recycling and I don't want to save all my glass until that point in time. So I think it's a good initiative, and especially it's something that I think the municipalities and our constituents asked us as representatives to see if we can make this work.
So if I can make one last comment. So I think what Rig said was a really good point. If it turns out that you don't get many options, Patrick, I would say that we revert this and we're proactive. So I think Rig's suggestion is a really good one.
Yeah,
Actually, piggybacking on that a little bit, because there's some new people from new members of the COG tonight, representatives, maybe it would be good to send that map out to just the delegates so that people who haven't seen it before could see that there were some sites identified. I know Swickley wasn't part of that, so we have no sites on that map, but other people do have, like it's already been scoped out and they may not know about them.
Yeah, that would be very helpful to see that because I'm so new. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, anything else, Patrick, on the glass?
Nope, that's all I had. So I just ask again, anyone that thinks their community is willing and able, please get that suggestion to the COG by early February. And that way we can bring those nominations, if there is any, hopefully there's plenty, to our February meeting to sort of dive in this a little deeper and pick the ultimate pilot site.
Great. The next item on our agenda is the CDBG status report.
Things are rolling along pretty well here. So we're closing up 46 projects, which are 2020 projects, and starting, if we haven't already, on CD 47 projects, which are 2021 to 2022. We also are getting to the point where our CD 48 applications, we had 7 total from the COG, are going to be evaluated by the county. So it looks like we'll get the word from which projects are deemed eligible and which ones will be selected, probably in the March timeframe. So excited to get that word out to those communities that are selected. And then in September of this year, we'll start the whole train again and get some more applications in. So if anyone has any questions about that report or anything that they want to talk about for future projects, I encourage you to reach out to me and I'd be happy to discuss it with you.
Great. Any discussion? Okay. Then another item, it's always usually the last on the agenda, is any comments or concerns by delegates. And I would like to also say thank you to the new delegates that are coming on. I would appreciate if you have any questions about the COG, go to our website. A lot of things are detailed there. Talk to Patrick. And I've been on the COG for a long period of time. Either Julia or I or John Sebastian, we're here for you. Patrick, is there for the new delegates, maybe a list of delegates from the communities and a packet that can be sent out to everybody?
Yeah, I could definitely put together a little email with, I'm still waiting on word for some of our towns for their new delegates, but I can put that together as soon as I get all the information and make sure everyone has the contacts, at least the email addresses and and phone numbers for those who are willing to give it. So yeah, I could definitely put that together in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you. Anything, any concerns or anything from our delegates?
This is Julie Barnes from Sewickley. I'd just like to say thank you. I look forward to serving as vice president, and I have a lot of ideas for the COG and how we can try to capture some of the funding that's coming down from the federal government and the state. So I'd be really interested in hearing about ideas from different delegates about things that they'd like to do in their communities. Just, you know, creative ideas about what you, if you could get grant money, what you would spend it on. And I think there are some really cool things we could do together if we have some energy and enthusiasm in this group. Also, I would like to meet everybody. So I understand that that the COVID is, you know, COVID is COVID, but whenever you would feel comfortable coming in person, I would just like to encourage you to do that when it feels right for you, so that we can see each other and meet each other. And there's no pressure there. If it doesn't feel comfortable for you, that's okay. But when it does, it would be great to meet.
And I would second what Julie is saying. Thank you. We used to have, when all the delegates were together, a meet and greet in the beginning of the year. So we get to know each other and just informally talk. But right now, I don't think that is possible, but probable in the near future if this goes down. So thank you, Julie. Anything else? Anything coming in a community for the good of all of us? Well, I would like to thank Patrick for all the work that you've been doing. And I would like to thank the group for nominating and electing me president. And I would say I would like to meet with all of you, get to know your communities also. And whenever you feel comfortable, feel free to call me when Patrick sends out the number or the email. Julie and I know John Sebastian, the executive committee with Patrick, we need to get together and talk among ourselves too. So thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Have a
In February.
wonderful night.